Hey you guys, this is my third time making this video, but I'm just gonna keep going because I'm not gonna edit or anything. But I wanted to talk about how parents always bother the innocent child. How parents always bother the quiet and reserved child. The child who always has a good head on their shoulders. The one who doesn't bother anybody. And the parents know that this child, the good child, is not going to talk back to them, is not going to do anything wrong towards them. This is why the parent nitpicks at the good child because they know no matter what they say or do, the good child is not going to leave. The good child is not going to speak back because the good child, I would say in my case, being a good child, I try to, I would try to make my parents see me, even though I was a good child, I would try to force them to actually see it. And I would go out of my way to try to prove it to them. But they didn't care about that because they would still bother me. They would still just be very rude and mean and try to use me to their advantage. Now, I'm not talking physically, I'm talking mentally because being a good child, parents know you're not going to like speak back to them in a bad way. You're not going to lash out at them. You're not going to curse at them. They know that you're reserved, so they keep picking on you and picking on you and picking on you because they know that you're not going to defend yourself. And then you have the other child, the child that's always in and out of jail, the child that's always constantly getting into trouble, that the parent has to always get them out of, the child who is just a bad child, really. Like, parents turn a blind eye to the bad things the bad child does. Parents constantly praise and love on a child who's always doing wrong. Which brings me to the situation with T.I. and his children. As you guys know, T.I. is a well known rapper and he has a few kids, but there's one child in particular that I can relate to, and her name is Deyjah Harris. As you know, Deyjah, she's very beautiful. She stays to herself, very reserved, always shedding love and light, posting inspirational quotes, always in good spirits. She has a job in modeling. Again, just doing everything the right way. But I don't know if you guys remember, there was a podcast that came out, and Ti would Ti came out and said that every year he would go with her to the doctor to make sure her hymen was intact. And it's like, why are you bothering this girl? Like, she's not doing anything but minding her business. But here you are in her personal space, literally sitting at the doctor with her every single year to make sure her hymen is intact. For what? Like, for what reason? Why are you bothering this girl? If her hymen is not intact, that's her business. But see, Ti knows that Deja, I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right, but Ti knows this young lady is not gonna say anything back to him because she respects him. He knows that she is gonna do whatever he says because that's her father figure and she wants to respect her father figure. But he's using it to his advantage to treat her any kind of way because he knows no matter what, she's going to show respect for him. Now, I did find a few things online and I'm just going to read to you guys about it. Of course, since this podcast has been out, it's been scrubbed from the internet because a few people did come back to him and, say he was wrong and this and that. And of course, villains don't like being called out. So it was scrubbed from the internet. And he tried to come back, I think, months later, talking about we had his words mixed up and something, just trying to make himself be seen in a good light. Because one thing about demons, I would say demons hate being exposed. When they do things, they don't want to get caught. So this is a perfect example. T.I. has a demon in him. So remember that demons never like to get exposed for the things they do, which is why when people started lashing out on him for sitting in the appointment with this girl to make sure her hymen was intact, he came back with a statement saying, "Oh, I didn't mean it that way." I don't even remember what he said, what reason he tried to justify, because demons don't like being seen in a bad light publicly. They like to do their dirt in private so that they can get away with it and so that their victim can suffer in silence. Because I'm not sure if you follow Deyjah Harris on Instagram, but that child has been through a lot. Like, she's still trying to heal from the way her parents have done her. And I don't know if it's the mother, but definitely T.I. Which is why if you see a person constantly talking about healing and constantly posting like inspirational quotes and stuff, they're trying to get over trauma. Which is why the reason why I make these inspirational videos, because I'm trying to heal myself and get over trauma as well. But yeah, she would talk about just healing yourself and getting yourself back on the right path. Just a wholesome young lady, very, very good head on her shoulders. But let me tell you what T.I. said specifically. Okay, he said, "We have yearly trips to the gynecologist to check her hymen. Yes, I go with her. I would say as of her 18th birthday, her hymen is still intact." So forcing your daughter to go to the doctor every year is a form of child abuse. But let me continue reading, because that's not the worst part. He says, "Just check the hymen, please, and give me back my results expeditiously," which means immediately or right away. So he's not doing this for her. He's doing this for him. And what he doesn't realize, that's humiliating. That's very humiliating, because why is it your business whether or not your daughter's hymen is still intact? Like, why are you invading her personal space in that way? Like, that kind of actually makes me think, like, I'm not saying that he did. Have you allegedly done something to her? Like, why are you checking to make sure her hymen is intact yearly? It's very concerning. Now, the reason why I brought up that is because his son, who is 20 years old, King Harris is one of those unruly children that I talked about, who no matter how much wrong they do, their parents turn a blind eye to it. Their parents love them and support them no matter what bad things they do. For example, now I'm not saying King did this. King could rob a bank and they'll say, no, my son didn't do that. He didn't do that. But let it be Deyjah allegedly robbing a bank. Oh, I knew she would do that. I knew she had it in her. See, they'll be quick to make the good child sound bad. But when it comes to the bad child, they take up for that bad child. And T.I. was so worried about having Deyjah have her hymen check at 18, and comes to find out that King Harris is 20 years old in 2024 and currently has a girl pregnant. And no, they're not married, so it's out of wedlock. But you don't see him. He was never taking King Harris to the doctor to check to make sure everything was intact. You see, he doesn't care about King Harris having a child. King Harris is always on social media cursing, smoking, getting into fights, using foul language, but he turns a blind eye to that. Parents always turn a blind eye to the children who do bad things, and that could be because they know the bad child doesn't really care about what they do, which makes me think that parents know the kids who are going to stick with them through thick and thin and who will have no problems leaving them, which is why I think the reason why T.I. turns a blind eye to the thing King Harris does is because he know King would leave in a heartbeat and cut him off in a heartbeat and stop talking to him. But Deyjah is more, I would say, people who are silent, and those who are done wrong by their parents, they try to seek approval and validation. Which just goes with me saying that T.I. knows that no matter what he does, Deyjah is still going to be there because she wants to get that love that the unruly kids get so freely. The same with me. I wanted that love that my unruly brother got so freely. Because no matter what he did, because he's done some stuff, and no matter what he does, he's always praised and loved on and coddled. Which brings me to another video I'm going to make on how parents raise their daughters but love their sons to infinity and beyond. That's going to be another video, but not in this one. But yeah. T.I. knows that he can say and do whatever because Deyjah is seeking that love and affection. So I think since then they say that this podcast about T.I. going with Deyjah to get her hymen checked and the things he said have been scrubbed, but I think that's pretty much it. That's what he said. He takes her yearly to make sure her hymen is intact, and he wants the results handed to him, which is so ridiculous because I don't know about Deyjah, but good kids, after a while, they get tired of looking for that validation in the parents. You get tired of craving that love and attention and just being taken advantage of. So you leave. Like me, I cut off my family and I have not looked back. My life is great. But you get tired of seeking that validation and you get tired of being taken advantage of, for being a good person. Just constantly getting taken advantage of. But it's just crazy to me how since King is 20 years old having a child out of wedlock. Like, T.I. isn't bashing him, he's turning a blind eye. But let that would have been Deyjah, the one who he goes to get hymen checked every year. Let that would have been her who was the one who was pregnant. Like, God forbid, like, I could just imagine the things that would come out of his mouth. He would probably talk about that girl like a dog. And it's so, so sad that parents treat their good kids like absolute crap, while the unruly ones never get chastised, never get penalized for anything at all. But that's just what I wanted to come talk about. But one day, good children, you will get tired of trying to get your parents' attention. You'll get tired of getting taken advantage of. And then when you cut them off, they're surprised because they thought that you were going to stick around so they can keep being, well, so you can keep being their little punching bag, the one who they can say anything to and get away with it, the one who they can use and take advantage of, because they don't expect you to leave. But I'm telling you, if you're in this situation, it does not get better. Distance yourself from these toxic parents immediately. And no matter how much they cry and plead and tell you to go back, do not go back, because the cycle will repeat. They'll tell you anything you want to hear once you leave, just so they can drag you back in and break your heart again. So that's my message for tonight, you guys. I'll talk to you later.